It is now 3 o'clock. We're a little ahead of schedule, and that's a good thing. So I wanted to make sure that we ended the day on a high note. So I invited not only a colleague, but a friend of mine, someone I know and respect dearly. Just a few housekeeping notes. She has requested for me to include her handout in the webinar session, so I've made it available to download. It's called Your Own Personal Board of Directors. It's PDF that you can download at this very moment. But before I do, let's introduce her. Dr. Holly Sullinger is the owner and proprietor of Dr. Holly Speaks and has been successfully providing corporate training for over 20 years. She also designs, implements, and support productivity systems within major organizations. She can bring fresh new ideas to your team, your position, your organization, and bring them to unparalleled success. Dr. Holly recently completed her PhD along with me in adult education at NC State University. Go Pack!
Go Pack!
Her dissertation was entitled How Corporate Trainers Get Groupies, a Q methodology study of viewpoints on why trainees seek out the same corporate trainer for additional training. You will receive some motivation, you'll receive some insights, and hopefully you'll learn a lot as Dr. Holly hits us home for our final presentation of the day. So I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Sullivan. You have the floor.
All right, cool. JJ, thank you. Dr. JJ. It's fun to use those titles now. I'm just excited that I get to be the cleanup batter today. And I'm very happy to be here with all of you. I've done a lot of speaking engagements with and for Dr. JJ in the past, and I love this group. So I've got my chat window open. I will try to keep my eyeballs trained on it as we go through this. And I am very excited to bring to you today a discussion on how to create your own internal board of directors. So from a housekeeping perspective, please chat with me. Let me know if you have questions. I will be referring to the handout, the little course workbook that JJ just put in the downloads area. So make sure you can download that and get your fingers on it. And if you can't, grab a piece of paper because I'm actually really focused on giving you a working plan to walk away with today. I really want to give you something meaningful that you can incorporate into your personal and professional lives and make work for you. So who am I? As Dr. JJ said, I am a corporate speaker, trainer, and consultant. This is what I've done with all of my grown-up life. And I absolutely adore talking to people about technology, leadership, and professional development topics. So the topic that we're going to be hitting on today is one that has been requested over and over again recently. It's very near and dear to my heart, and I hope you'll enjoy it. So we're going to talk about how to create your own personal board of directors. And I'm going to start out by telling you why this topic even came into being. When Dr. JJ and I went through our PhD program, we had some horrendous assignments that we had to complete. But one of the assignments that I was given specifically asked me to go and interview. I was trying to learn interviewing skills. Go and interview one of the first female leaders at North Carolina State University. And she made time for me. I sat down. I thought I was going to sit down with her for 30 minutes. It ended up being about a 2-hour experience for me, which I just ate up. It was wonderful. But this woman rose up above all of the adversities to become the first formal female leader at NC State in a very, at that time, white, male-dominated environment. And I finally said towards the end of the interview, Miss Pat, what in the world allowed you to achieve the level of success that you were able to achieve? How did you make it in this environment that would be seemingly so against you? And Miss Pat, who is a very beautiful, graceful Southern woman. I'm going to try to do her accent. Don't make fun of me if I can't now. But she said, Holly, it's all due in part to my internal board of directors. And I said, "You're what?" And she explained to me that her mother had taught her from the time she was a little tiny girl that she by herself was never going to be enough if she wanted to be successful. That she had a lot of strengths and she was a strong woman and she had a lot of great qualities. But in order to be truly successful, she needed to have a team working with her. She needed to have a group of advisors, a group of confidants, a group of trusted peoples that would help pull her forward and help her propel towards success. And she said, "Holly, I never forgot that." She said, "From the time I started out in my professional career, I made sure that I paid close attention to where I had weaknesses or where I felt unsure of myself or uncomfortable. And I went and found people that could help teach me or show me how to move along in those areas." So this whole idea of how to create your own board of directors, she got me thinking. And I started thinking, I've never intentionally done this in my life. Sure, I've had people I consider to be mentors and advisors and, trusted professional companions, but I've never really done this intentionally. So I went looking to see if I could find the different types of people that we should have around us in order to make us successful. Just like a president has a cabinet, just like heads of major corporations have boards, we're going to have our own internal board of directors. So let's unpack this and see what we can find. You're all very aware that everybody at this conference has a lot of different talents, strengths, and weaknesses. We're all very different. That's what makes the world interesting. And unfortunately, that's also, though, what makes us not good as one entity. It's much better when we have a team around us to help us to become more synergistically strong and successful. So what does that really mean then? Well, this is why it's a good idea to intentionally create your own internal board of directors. So the handout that I asked JJ to upload for you, which goes along with this program, we're going to actually take some time to work with it for just a moment, all right? So first of all, if you will notice on page 1, and if you haven't downloaded it yet, just grab a pen and a piece of paper. And what I'd love for you to do is, in your own space, I want you to list your top 3 strengths. What are you really super good at? I'd love for you to list your top 3 weaknesses. What are you really not good at, don't really like so much, don't feel you're suited for? And then what are 3 goals that you have for yourself professionally? So what is it that you would like to achieve? What level do you consider successful for yourself? All right. 3 strengths, 3 weaknesses, and 3 goals for your professional life. So I know you're all paying close attention. Does anybody have a strength that they would mind sharing with the group? What kind of strengths do I have out there? What do you feel you could bring to a group and be really good at? Dr. JJ, I hope I can see the chats because I've got a little chat window and I'm hoping people are thinking about this. So while you're thinking, what's that?
Someone commented, I'm a good organizer. Someone commented, I'm a wooer in terms of, I think, the official strengths-based finder.
Great.
I'm good at being on time. I'm deliberative, assessing and taking risks. Organize, list goes on and on and on.
Oh, that's awesome. So JJ, you're going to be my chat apparently because I can't see any of that.
No problem.
Okay, fantastic. So that, it makes us feel good to look at our strengths. And honestly, you should write down your strengths. You should list your strengths and you should have them in a place where you can see them. Don't just have them in your brain. Put them in front of you so that you can see them and look at them on a regular basis, because we want to really focus on bettering our strengths and really emphasizing our strengths. All right, now this is a more challenging one, but I really love it if you could participate. If you could cough up some of your weaknesses, and I'll have Dr. JJ read a couple of those as well. Don't leave him out in the cold now.
I won't. So I have procrastinator. I have networking.
Huh?
One of mine is I take too long to make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
That's my personal one.
That's
Uh,
it. Thank you.
let's see. Procrastinate, perfectionist to the point where I want people to do things just like I tell them to.
Yep.
Um, let's see.
Oh, those are great. Those are great. So weaknesses, I've had people say you need to work on your weaknesses, turn them into strengths. Sometimes we don't even want to. Sometimes, they're weaknesses that we could care less about. But if you intentionally figure out who you can put on your board of directors, you don't have to worry about them. You can find people that have your weaknesses as their strengths, include them on your team, and you're good to go. So we'll talk more about that in just a bit. All right, now, last but not least, I asked you all to come up with 3 professional goals for yourself. And I would love to hear some professional goals out there. You don't have to give me all 3, just 1 or 2. You can chat them in.
I have full-time job, stable income, support my family.
Amen.
Um, uh, I want to be a professional speaker like yourself.
Ooh,
uh,
how about that?
college access, college readiness, consulting. I want to be a nurse. Claps to you. Our nurse in the room, or our healthcare professionals and public safety.
Absolutely.
Um, help the community during this crisis. Give back where I can, and turn that into a career.
Beautiful. Oh, I love these. They're fantastic. Thank you for playing along. This is great. So, one of the things that I want to mention up front, experts tell us that if you write down your goals and you look at them frequently, you are 70% likely to achieve those goals. It's not good enough just to have them in your brain or put them on a computer once and shove them in a file somewhere and leave them. You've got to literally look at them, because if you look at them, you're going to be intentionally working toward them. So now we have a little bit of an understanding of our strengths and our weaknesses and some of our goals. And now what we need to do is build ourselves a team of people that can help us achieve our goals, help us to be able to accentuate and utilize our strengths, and help us to basically kind of fill in the gaps of our weaknesses. So what is a board of directors then? What are we going to define it as today? It's a support network. It's a group of people that we're going to have come along beside us and help us out. They're going to give us advice. They're going to give us some of their wisdom. They're going to fill in the gaps, some areas that we don't want to have to worry about on our own. They're people who are going to motivate, inspire, and challenge us. So I'm going to have you thinking of actual people. So again, keep that pencil and paper, keep that workbook close at hand, because we're going to actually do this. And hopefully by the end of the chat that we have today, you'll have an actual action plan that you can use literally for the rest of your professional career. We can pull this out once a year and we can dust it off, and we can work with it every single year and make ourselves better. All right. So here's some of the things that a board of directors can do for us. I'm going to move my little self out of the way there. There you go. All right. So we basically, let's see if I can dock this. Sorry, guys, I'm getting the little panel out of my way so I can actually work with you. There we go. So we basically, one of the things that we know is that a board of directors can help us shorten our learning curve. I know that one of the things that I needed to learn for a dissertation, Dr. JJ and I are still like so excited that we no longer have to go to school and write every single weekend. But one of the things I learned I had to do to complete my dissertation is I needed to learn a statistical software package that I did not know. I have 5 college degrees. I'm a little psychotic. JJ knows this. But the first one is in technology. I was a computer programmer. That was the first real job that I had. Even though I can do all of that stuff, there was this brand new statistical software package called R that I needed to learn. And I didn't have time. I was working 60 to 80 hours a week. I was trying to work on my dissertation, and I just didn't have the bandwidth to take that on. So fortunately, on my board of directors, one of the people who work for me is I consider him a technology genius. He's an electrical engineering graduate from MIT. And he does online learning just for fun, way before this online learning became the thing to do. And he said, I know it. I'll help you out with this. And sure enough, he told me what to avoid, what to use. Don't worry about these things over here. This is the direction you want to go in. Here, let me write a couple things for you. This is what I wrote. This is why. He saved me an incredible number of hours learning that software so that I could just get my dissertation done. So that's one of the things that your board can do for you, is just help you out with your learning curve. Obviously, they can tell you about new opportunities, showcase new opportunities. One of the cool things about the conference that you're having today is that you can find out about new things and new opportunities. Well, that's kind of something your board of directors can help you with. If you get the right people assembled, they'll email you, text you, call you, and say, hey, I know of this thing and I know you're interested. Let me explain it to you, or let's go together. Obviously, we're going to use them for their wisdom and their expertise. Also, we can use them to move into new areas. Hopefully, you all realize that over the span of our careers, we change our course several times. You might be working along and then find out about a new area in your field, and you'd rather go into that new area because it sounds so exciting. And wouldn't it be great to have somebody say, you know what, I know people in that area. Let me introduce you. Or let me tell you a little bit about that area. I happen to have some expertise myself. So again, that can be our board of directors. Obviously, they can fill in gaps. We're going to talk about the types of people that we might want to get to help us seem more well-rounded. They can help us with creativity and innovation. I'm one of those people, and maybe you are too. I'm pretty fiercely independent, and if I don't feel like I have people moving along the way I want to, I'll just say, forget it, I'll get it done myself, which is actually hurtful in the long run, not only to me, but to the team. I am so much more creative and so much more innovative when there's a group around me. I know Dr. JJ will back me up on this. JJ and I actually were in a writing group for several years. As we were completing our dissertation, we got together and we'd write on Saturdays. And it was a wonderful opportunity for some personal accountability. We'll talk about accountability partners in just a bit. And then also it helped with creativity and innovation. JJ was phenomenal at saying, he was a couple of steps ahead of a couple of us. And he would say, all right, this is what I just had to do. This is what it looked like for me. This is what you can do to make it easier for you. He did that so many times. I can't even remember the number of times he did that for me. So creativity and innovation. He was constantly coming up with better ways to get through the process or to work around things. Thank goodness for him. Lots of support. Our board of directors will give us lots of support, encouragement, and rah-rahs when we need them. They'll help us out with decisions. So if you find that you're in a really complicated situation, you need to have some insight or some wisdom to make the correct decision, often our board can help us with that. They can also provide advice and feedback. So just anything that you need. And then last but not least, they can help us set our goals. And we said goal setting is huge. It's a huge way to get ahead in life. So who wouldn't want a whole team to help out with this? Again, I've got so much going on in my life, and I always have, that if I try to do all of these things on my own, I'm probably going to do them, but not do them all well. If I surround myself instead with a team of people that can help me get there and take some of the load for me, it's going to allow me to be much more successful, much more quickly, and much more synergistically. And we're not just talking about being successful ourselves. When you assemble the right team, you're going to help them out every bit as much as they help you. All right. So here's the big quote of the day. You want to expand your inner circle to include those who challenge your thinking and escalate you to unreached heights of success. Always have your antenna going, looking for people who can come alongside you and help you out, help you create that synergy that's going to make you ultimately more successful. All right, so we're going to start now. We're going to talk about the board seats that we want to fill. So here you go, and these are in your handout. We're going to select these with intention. We're just not going to say, oh, look, there's Tom. He's somebody I should talk to. That's not good enough. We're going to say, and this is something I do in January of each year. I pull out a little sheet, much like the one I'm going to give you guys, and I go through it and say, do I have the right people in the right seats? So let's go ahead and get busy and find out who we need on our board. This is the first one that we need. Somebody that's officially a connector for us. A connector is a person, obviously, who puts people together. The connector will say, you've got these skills and these talents. This person needs that. Let me introduce the two of you. Or this person has asked for somebody that has your expertise. Is it okay if I give them your contact information? So they help you grow your network. They help you grow your board. Connectors are amazing. And by the way, JJ is a connector. JJ puts people together all the time. And all of us can be connectors. You all know darn well that LinkedIn is where we all need to be all the time now. And it's so easy to introduce other people on LinkedIn. You can just go ahead and message both people and say, you should know each other. You should be connected. Here's why. Have fun with your connection. And it really does work. And by the way, I'm telling you about people you need to pull onto your board. But if you see yourself as being good in any of these roles, be prepared to do the same thing for others. So connectors enjoy great popularity. They enjoy basically the reputation of being able to network and pull people together. It's a great, great opportunity to be a visible person. So in your handout, you'll see a little place, a little box where you can kind of pick your brain and go, okay, who do I know that is a connector? Who has that personality type? I'm really lucky. I have about 6 people that I know that are connectors, and any one of those 6 on any given week are introducing me to somebody via social media, and it's usually LinkedIn, of course. So see if you can think of people who have filled that role for you, and if you think this is something you could do for others, you might want to note that as well. All right, so another person that we need to have sitting on our board of directors is an informal powerhouse or strategist. This is the person who knows their industry incredibly well. They've paid their dues and they've learned how to work through all of the politics and get where they need to go. And they are aware of opportunities and projects and are willing to share with you so that you can start moving in that same trajectory. All right. Informal powerhouses and strategists. I've had a lot of those people in my life as well. They are people who in my world have said, okay, I've managed to get from here to there. You just told me you want to get to the same place. This is how I did it. If you go talk to this person and that person and this person, you'll probably be on your way. Those are great people to have on your own internal board of directors. So see if you can think of somebody who knows your industry really super well. And if it's not your industry yet, the industry you want to get into. I will tell you that, and this is so weird, I always have these little wonderful stories happen to me right before I do conferences or speeches like this. But I had a young lady, I guess it was last Thursday, out of the blue, I got a LinkedIn message and she said, you don't know me. I just found you on LinkedIn and I'm getting ready to graduate with my master's degree from North Carolina State University. I see you just got your PhD from there. I'm kind of conflicted about the different path that I want to take, for my career. Could you spare me 30 minutes of your time? Can we set up a Zoom meeting? And I said, yeah, absolutely. And by the way, if you decide to ask people formally to sit on your board, and we'll talk about the fact that you can either ask people or you can just stick them there. But if you ask them, let me just tell you up front from somebody who's been on both sides. Now that I've been in my profession for quite some time and I have a little bit of mileage under my belt, I am honored when people like that ask me for my time. Please don't think it's going to be an imposition. People who are in the powers of position or positions that they're in are always happy to give back. It's been my experience. I've never yet found anybody in my world who hasn't been. So don't hesitate to ask. But this young lady asked me to give her 30 minutes of time. I spoke to her on Friday. She was amazing. She was smart, graceful, professional. She had pre-planned her questions. She was very attentive. She did active listening. She was absolutely delightful to talk to. And when we got done, I had two more people I was going to connect her with. I connected her immediately with those two people on LinkedIn. And she, of course, she wrote back, thank you, thank you, thank you. She was looking at me as a powerhouse and strategist. She said, you've been in the field of education for a long time. You've got your PhD. What can you share with me? And I was happy to talk to her. So think for just a moment about people that you might be able to use as an informal powerhouse or strategist, put their names down. And then I also want you to do this. There's a little place in your handout. In fact, it's on page 2 for you to write down 3 different people who inspire you. Now, what does inspire mean? It means that these people are making us feel like we can go and do whatever it is that we want to do. I heard, somebody said that they're thinking about becoming a nurse, and wow, that's such a brave thing to do nowadays, knowing the types of things that nurses have to deal with. But the inspiration might be the fact that you're seeing people working on the front lines unselfishly and giving so much right now. I mean, they're just in our face all the time. And if they weren't there, we would be in a world of hurt. So who inspires you? Is there somebody in your family? I know my mother taught kindergarten for 35 years. And she was an elementary school supervisor. She did teach me. I learned I did not want to deal with children because I had to help in her classes a lot. But she did inspire me to teach. And that is why I do what I do today. I do a lot of speaking and a lot of corporate training. So my mom was somebody who inspired me. So I know it's easy to come up with personal individuals who inspire you, but try to also think of a couple of work-related people. And if you think of someone and you're willing to share, I'd love it if you would put it in the chat room and if Dr. JJ would tell us what he finds there. So Dr. JJ, do we have any chats yet for people who inspire us?
I have a couple of names. I have a Natasha Lipscomb. She works at Rowan Cabarrus as a vice president.
Nice.
I have Dr. Tiffany Anderson. She's a superintendent at Topeka Public Schools.
Nice.
And everybody else is shy.
Everybody else is shy. Okay, that's all right. Please make sure you do pick your brain. And even if you're not willing to share, make sure that on your own personal information, you write this stuff down, because this is really going to help you surround yourself with the people that you need to become more successful and to just move ahead in life. All right, so let's talk about some more board seats that we need to fill then. So we also need to have somebody that's an influencer, sponsor, or mentor. And of course, if you're fortunate enough that you've ever had a mentor, mentors give you advice, they give you encouragement, they give you ideas. They promote you. They provide advice and feedback. So, I mean, there are a lot of things that these people do. They're very important to have on your board because they can help us almost like from an apprenticeship perspective. If, for example, I wanted to go into a new field, I would definitely find somebody who'd worked in that field for a while, and I would ask if I could please work with them on a fairly regular basis to kind of have them help me out and lead the way. I will tell you that I told you my first college degree was in computer programming. I was one of the very few females in that program. And when I came out, I got a great job, but I don't know if it was my gender at the time or what, but I never had a mentor. I never had the ability. I never formally asked anybody. I observed people from time to time and picked up the things I needed. But there was never a formal program, and nobody ever, quote unquote, took me under their wing. And it wasn't until I was much later in life, and I had changed careers a couple of times, that I started having people around me that I would have considered mentor quality. And the change was amazing. I mean, if I had had a mentor back when I was programming, I think I would have probably made some different choices pretty quickly. But mentors, just if you can get involved with a mentor, if you can find a mentorship program, that's a really great way to get ahead. I forget what the statistics are, but people with mentors are much more immediately successful than people without. So if you can, think of somebody who could be a mentor or a sponsor in your life and put their name down. All right. Another type of board member that we need to have is a challenger, the motivator. All right. And you probably know what challengers and motivators are. Sometimes they're annoying, but typically not. They're the people who say to you, okay, you said you wanted to do X, Y, Z. What's your first step and when are you taking it? Or I hear you're going to be doing such and such, and I really know you can do this. I'm so excited for you. What can I do to help you? So the challengers and the motivators are the people who basically provide gas for our engine, right? They inspire us to take action. They keep us from becoming complacent, and they give us reasons to move ahead. I've had lots of challengers and motivators in my life. Last September, I actually got to go speak in Italy, which was really amazing for me. And it was because my dissertation chair pushed me to apply to a conference that was in Italy as a speaker, and they accepted me and they invited me to come and speak. I got to go to a place that was very different. We're going to talk about how important differences are in a moment. And see some lovely things, but I never would have done that if she hadn't kept on me about, Holly, your research was amazing. It's going to be perfect for this conference. Please apply. And I'm glad that she was that person in my life at that time. So who in your world could be a challenger or a motivator? All right. Now, this is also in your workbook, and this is on page 4. If you could do me a favor, this is a little bit challenging for some people, but I want you to try to think of 3 people who are incredibly different from you, very different from you, because it is not good for us to have people around us that are the same as we are all the time. It is very good when we are kind of pushed out of our comfort zone and we have to be with somebody who's very different. It could be that they have a different opinion on the job that we're doing, the project that we're doing. It can be that they have a difference in politics or in religion or what have you. Anything that keeps us from becoming complacent. I'm not saying we have to agree with these people. I'm saying it's just good to be around differences. So make a list of 3 people that are very different from you. You heard me mention Italy. I was absolutely blown away. I was there for a whole week, and I was very lucky. We went to Naples, and we didn't stay in the touristy areas. We actually, when I wasn't speaking, we would go into the city, and we would go into the neighborhoods where the people lived and worked and played. Italy is very, very different from America. It's absolutely amazing, and I was pushed completely out of my comfort zone being there. The Italians don't grocery shop like we do. There were little neighborhood markets that sprung up every morning, and the Italians would come out of their homes and they would go through these little markets and they would get what they needed for the day or for their meal. And then that would be all they would get. They weren't buying hordes of groceries. The streets are too narrow for cars, so they walk a lot or they drive the little mopeds, little Vespas all over the place. The whole environment was completely different, much more casual. People drove like maniacs. It was just everything threw me off guard, and it felt good. It felt good to be taken out of my comfort zone and have to be in a completely different environment. And I appreciated it. I loved it. I thought the differences were just absolutely stunning. And I would love to go back in a heartbeat. Think of 3 different people, though, that are very different from you that might be able to lend themselves to helping you get out of your comfort zone. Another board member that we need to seat at our table would be an expert or a specialist. And We might need several of these. I've needed so many specialists over the years, it's not even funny. For example, the example that I gave you earlier, my coworker who knew the R programming language, he was an expert with programming languages, and thank goodness that he knew them as well as he did. So he sat on my board in that capacity. He's still there. I'm also lucky in that I have a millennial son who is in network engineering here in North Raleigh. And he is so good at networking and equipment and configuring, it's my word, configuring new systems, that if I ever have any kind of computer malfunction, I just call him up and say, hey, yo, help me out with this. And he does. So you'll find that you'll need a lot of experts over the years. You want to look for areas in your life where you have your weaknesses and try to fill them in with people that are experts in those areas. I think JJ mentioned the decisions, might have been JJ's, I'm not sure. But I know that in my own life, I'm super organized with my course content. I'm not as organized in my personal life. Okay. My personal life, I'm kind of a disheveled person. Fortunately, I have a lot of friends who are very organized. And so when I get, feeling like I'm out of control, I'll say, hey, can you help me out with this? How can I organize this particular part of my life? And people help me out with that. So you might need somebody who can organize. You might need somebody who's really good at budgeting or finance. Don't feel like you have to do it all. Just because somebody hands you a budget, if you're uncomfortable with it, go find somebody who likes to budget. There are people like that out there. Might be some people like that in this conference. If you're not comfortable with computers and technology, find that person in your life. And again, you're not just using them. I normally say to the person who helps me organize, hey, if you'll help me organize, I'll talk to your women's group for you for free, and they're like, yeah, so they'll come over and get me all arranged and I'll go talk to their women's group and everybody's happy. So remember, this is going to be all synergistic. This is that, you guys know the saying, pay it forward. You're going to be helping them as much as they're helping you. Your board members and you will become part of a team. So write down some people that you know might be experts or specialists in areas that you don't feel real confident in. If you're not that good at writing, find somebody who can proofread. If you're not that good at communicating, if you don't like public speaking, if that's one of your weaknesses, find somebody who loves doing it and ask them to help you out. All right, here's another one. Now, these people are truly annoying, but we need them in our lives. We definitely need to have on our board somebody who can play devil's advocate or who is a clarifier. What do I mean by that? Oh my gosh. These are the people that ask why about everything. Why did you make that decision? Why are you trying to do that here? Why are you going in that direction? Why didn't we do this the same way we did it last time? How in the world do you think you can do that? Again, yes, these people are annoying, but they serve so many great purposes in our life. They let us know when we're going in the wrong direction. They give us so much ammunition that by the time we get somewhere, we know what we're saying. We know the direction that we've gone in. We know what we need to do. It's always good to have people asking hard questions that we don't hear. In fact, one of the things that I always tell my groups, I do a lot of how to do great presentations topics. And those people need to have an outline. Anytime you do a presentation, all of you, there's an outline that you can use that will guarantee that you have a good presentation. And it's real simple. You've learned this stuff in middle school, high school, college. You need an introduction, you need a conclusion, you need 3 points, no more than 3 because human beings have the attention spans of gnats. And then you need to have something called the counter argument. That's where these people come in. The counter argument is your way of saying, oh, you know what, Bob might say this to shoot down one of my thoughts, and Alice might say that to shoot down one of my thoughts. So to get around them, I'm going to go ahead and pre-plan some responses, and I'm going to say this, this, and this. And that becomes your counter argument. And you say it before they even have a chance to raise their objections. The devil's advocate clarifier can help you figure out what those areas are. So this is kind of fun. See if you can think of all of the annoying people in your life and write down some names as to who these people could be and how they can help you make sure that you're going in the right direction. All right. Hopefully you're writing down this stuff, gang, because there's another study. I just pulled the piece of the article out of on my desk in there. There are so many studies that show us that if you write something down, you connect with it better and you remember it longer. And it's even better than technology, which I hate because I love technology. But just keep that in mind. Notes are good. All right. Do me a favor. This is huge. I now want you to think of 3 people that you trust implicitly. And again, there's a tendency here to think from our personal life, but you're going to need to trust some people in your professional life as well. So please expand your idea to include your professional life and come up with 3 names of people that you can trust. And if you can't find people you can trust, that needs to be your first plan of attack. Find some people you can trust. So write their names down. All right. And then let's look at another board seat that we need to fill, the accountability master. Now, the accountability master is much like the devil's advocate and clarifier, but they're not annoying. Usually they're a friend. Usually they're a friendly person who are just there to say, hey, you said you were going to get that done by Thursday. How's that coming? Are you going to get that done by Thursday? They're just there to kind of needle you just a little bit to make sure that you stay on track and that you stay focused. I love accountability masters. I mentioned before that Dr. JJ and I were in the same dissertation writing group. That was a huge benefit to all of us from an accountability perspective. If somebody said, I'm going to work on chapter 2 this week, next week when I come in, I should be able to, type some stuff up on chapter 2. When they came the following week, we were saying, hey, are you typing chapter 2? And everybody did it for everybody else. And it kept us all on target. I know that there were many Friday nights when I was like, oh God, I've got to go work all day tomorrow with my group. And I didn't do what I said, and I'd be working on Friday night trying to get it done so that I could go in and say, hey, yeah, this is where I am. So accountability masters, again, friendlies who are just there to kind of make sure that you're pushing yourself forward in the right direction. And then last but not least, we always need to include on our board of directors a true friend. Yeah, you guys, life is hard, and you need to have the person who is honest with you, but who is going to love you no matter what, along with all the other cast of characters that I just mentioned. So you've got to have a true friend. Definitely put them on your board of directors. This is the person you can call up if you've had a rough time, and you can say, hey, look, these people are all being total idiots, or they're being, horrible, or I can't get them to motivate or whatever. And the best friend will talk you off the ledge. So your true friend is the person who is going to be honest with you, but who has always got your back and who's always going to love you no matter what. So please write down a couple of names of people that you consider your true friends. And I hope everybody realizes this. Again, the old saying is, if you have even enough best friends, good true friends to fit in the palm of your hand, 5 or fewer, you're a rich person. It's hard to find a true friend. It is. Okay. So those are our board seats. We need to remember when we're planning these board seats that your members can be either overt members or they can be covert members. Miss Pat, the woman that gave me the whole idea for this, didn't tell. She goes, I didn't tell half the people they were on my board. In fact, I fired them. They never even knew they were fired. So you want to tell some people. You might want to say to a mentor, somebody you want to have be your mentor, I would love to have you on my own internal board of directors as a mentor. Is there any way we could meet once a month for 30 minutes on Zoom? I just would love to pick your brain, have you maybe give me some ideas as to things I can do to be more successful. Will that work for you? There might be somebody else that you just know is really darn good at budgets, and you're just going to call them up when you got a budget question and say, hey, Fred, can I pick your brain for a second? That person doesn't have to be told anything at all about the board of directors, okay? But you need to decide which is which, all right? Because there are different ways you're going to handle both of those. So how do you create the board? Now, one of the reasons I wanted to make sure that JJ got you the PDF for the course workbook here There's a couple of sheets at the back that I hope work really well for you. All right, how do you create your own board of directors? On page 7, the first thing you want to do is make a long list of people that would make good board members. By the way, if you just take the names that you put through the rest of the workbook and transfer them here, you've got your list. One of the reasons we talked about each board member at length, and I gave you the opportunity to think of names, is so that you could come up ultimately with this. We also want to include those little asides where we're saying list 3 people that inspire you, list 3 people that are very different from you. Those names need to come forward. They might all be great members of your board. The next thing that you want to do on a separate sheet, she says, attempting to turn her page. So it's on page 8. Write down the type of board members you're looking for. Now, this is just a sample. This might be who I'm looking for. And you might look at that and go, I don't need that. Fine, make your own list. So on my list, I put down I'm going to need 2 connectors because I want to be very well networked in my field. I need 2 informal powerhouse and strategists. I just need 1 mentor, 1 challenger motivator. Ooh, I need 3 specialists. I mean, I've got quite a few on here. So you write down what you need, and then you're going to write the names next to your board seats. And then you're going to decide whether they are overt or covert. Okay? So you've got the type of board seat, the name of the person, and then whether they are overt or covert members. And this is something you're going to revisit and revise on a regular basis. Again, I do mine once a year. Once a year, I go, okay, who do I need to put on my board of directors so that I can be a much more well-rounded person? And I go through my list again. Now, you heard me say we're going to do something a little bit different between overt and covert members. With your overt members, they know they're doing you a favor. They know they're doing you a solid. So you really need to make sure that you thank them on a regular basis. When we're not social distancing any longer, take them to coffee. Or get them a little Starbucks gift card or something just to say thank you for your time. You all know when you're a professional, time is the most precious resource you have. When you ask somebody for their time, make sure you thank them for their time. If they're covert members, they don't know they're on your board anyway. If you ask them a question, say, hey, I appreciate you helping me out with this. If I can ever be of help to you, call me back. If I can introduce you to anybody, let me know. Make sure they know you're open to helping them back. But it's a little bit different way that we have to deal with both of those. All right. Here's what we're trying to get to. The more expertise you have at your disposal, the easier it becomes to make informed choices. The easier it becomes to become successful. And that's what this is all about. How can you make your life easier? We don't have a whole bunch of time individually, but if we have people helping us, if everybody takes a little tiny chunk of time for us, collectively, we can move mountains. We can do all kinds of amazing things. Some other things that you need to remember when you're assembling your board of directors, and here's the first one. We want a diverse board. Again, that's one of the reasons I asked you to come up with 3 people that are very, very different from you. You want diversity. You want, and I'm not just talking racially, I'm not just talking from a gender perspective. You want diverse ideas. You want diverse opinions. You want diverse just talents and skills. You want diverse thoughts. And the more differences that you have, the more diversity that you have on your board, the more creativity and innovation you're going to have. So make sure that becomes a big push for you. If you look back at those names and you're like, yes person, friend, you need to mix it up. Definitely. You definitely want to have covert, in-person, and virtual board members. And right now, the in-person is slashed. So we want covert and virtual, right? And again, the difference is you're going to tell some people and you're not going to tell others. And it's all good because some people probably have you on their board and they haven't told you either. So we're there. You definitely want to invest in your board with time. You want to remember to reach out to them on a regular basis, thank them on a regular basis, check in with them on a regular basis. And again, the whole idea of paying it forward. You might not be able to pay a particular person back, but you can always say, you've helped me so much. I'm going to go help somebody else the same way that you just helped me. You've inspired me. Thank you. I've even had people that have helped me say that. You know what? Don't pay me back. I don't need you to pay me back. Just go help somebody else. Pay it forward someday. So keep that in mind as well. Thank everybody frequently. Y'all know a good thank you goes a long way. And then return the favor for others. When people approach you, especially if you've used the time and the talents of others, make sure that you're willing to help. Make sure that you're willing to give back. And then always look for new members. I am constantly on the outlook for people that I can add to my board. JJ, whether he knows it or not, has been on my board for quite some time. Without Dr. JJ, I don't know that I would have gotten done with my PhD when I did. He didn't wait for me to ask. He would just come to me and say, okay, I know something you need to be aware of. Here you go. And that's just what JJ does. There have been a lot of people in my life like that. The young lady that I spoke to recently, the graduate student, she is so put together. I guarantee you, if I have a need, and she's in a slightly different field than I'm in, she'll be my first go-to. And I did, by the way, I was so impressed with her. I said to her, I will always be here as a resource for you. You have impressed me. If there's anything I can do, if there's anybody I can introduce you to, if there's anything I can do for you, please call on me. Anytime you can make alliances like that, life is going to be better and success is going to be far easier. This is a big takeaway. Please know that you are on others' boards, whether you know it or not. There might be a child that looks up to you from a mentoring perspective. There might be a friend who uses you as an accountability partner. Here we are, we're all kind of stuck at home. And I know a lot of people now are partnering up to go, let's make sure we take a walk every day to just keep our sanity, or let's make sure that we do yoga, every Thursday together as a group. Ta-da, There are a lot of different ways that you can be on the boards of others. Remember that you are. So, I've had more people say, I'm not a role model. You never know when people are looking at you. All right. So keep that in mind. This is all one big synergistic thing. If you just remember the importance of this is kind of like a huge intentional networking, except it's for a support network that's more permanent than the type of networking that we would do after hours. Okay. It's very important not only to help you, but so that you in addition can help others. And I'm going to thank you by sharing this last little story with you. Some of you may have heard the story of the starfish, but I absolutely adore it. So I'm going to share it with you again. In the day and age before social distancing, I got to start that way. There was a little boy who was walking down at the edge of the water on the beach, and he noticed that overnight many, many starfish had beached themselves. The tide had gone out too quickly. They were unable to swim back out. And so this little boy, quick thinking, started picking up very gently the starfish one at a time and carrying them back into the water. As he was doing that, an older man came along and he watched the little boy for a while and furrowed his brows, and he said to the little boy, "What do you think you're doing there?" And the little boy said, "I'm saving the starfish. Here we go." And the man said, "Oh, for Pete's sake, look up and down the beach. They're everywhere. There's no way in the world you can save all these starfish, for Pete's sake." Well, the little boy clouded up and looked like he was, not going to be happy. And then he kind of shook his head and he reached down and he picked up a starfish and he took it back over the water and he turned around and he said, "But I helped that one." You can be that person. All you have to do is help one person. If you help somebody by being a board member for them, then they're going to be more likely to be a board member for you. So I hope this seminar has helped you. I think I've left enough time for a little bit of questions. JJ, we got time for questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Yay! You'll have to tell me what they are because I can't see a darn thing.
We have a thank you, Dr. Sullinger. Great presentation, but no questions.
Okay. Well, you're welcome, and thank you for being here. Thank you, all of you, for being willing to pivot and do this conference a different way. And I don't know if y'all know how hard that JJ's worked. I think JJ pulled out a couple of hairs in the process, making this thing happen. I know he was burning the midnight oil, talking to me a little bit. So please make sure you thank Dr. JJ, because he was all instrumental in doing this. And he had to rally all of us. He had to go back to speakers and say, we're doing this different. Please consider doing this online with us. He had to set all this up. I think he shaved a couple of years off the end of his life. So thank him too. First it was the dissertation, Dr. JJ, then this, right?
So definitely got a lot of thank yous, and Dr. Sullinger, thank you for your kind words. Thank you for being with here to share your time and expertise. All of our handouts and materials are available to download. You have her contact information. Connect her through LinkedIn and all the social medias. For those that are still here with us, definitely thank you for your time and energy today. We know it was kind of a long day, but we did want to still provide some knowledge, some learning, some fun, and some engagement. And so hopefully we were able to check all three of those boxes today. Stay tuned for an update to N4C SGA website. That's for all the recordings as well as handouts and materials will be, and I'll make sure that those are passed on to all the student life coordinators in our system. Last but not least, I want to make sure I have all my announcements. All right. Last but not least, please stay safe. Stay at home if you can. If you are an essential employee that needs to travel for work, if you are in healthcare or public safety, thank you for everything that you do, not only for ourselves, but others in North Carolina. And for those that are students, do your best during this time to complete out the semester. We know it's trying time. Understand that colleges are sort of trying to adjust as best as possible and figure things out. It's definitely a work in progress. We look forward to having you engage not only for the spring semester, summer, and beyond. And if you have any questions, everyone should know how to find me. My email is not too hard. Just jevans@ncommunitycolleges.edu. Feel free to ask me any questions. If you need contact information for any of our speakers or presenters to either re-engage with them or have them come speak to your campuses and those types of things, I'm happy to pass that information along. And so with that, have a great day.
Thanks, JJ.
Yes, ma'am.